The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I've Mendenhall, he said he could make it.
Don't think this whole... Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has, but he is a shocking personality. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-bit.
My life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Right, you go. I'm a tag, Jack! I'm a fucking tag!
Hello and welcome to the LOC Report. The regular season is finally here. The LOC draft is in the books and we have the first week one preview of the season. But we will not be joined by the co-host this week as he is getting some R&R before the season starts in Wales. We instead have Coach Burdett making his second appearance on the show this season. How's it going, Ollie?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, not too good. Looking forward to the start of the season and
2 days to go.
Yeah, we both already have roster questions that we don't know who to start and whatnot, and as is always the case. But yeah, it's here. It should finally be going ahead, barring some unforeseen circumstance, which is always possible in today's world. But no, let's not dwell on that. Let's not keep the viewers waiting any further and just delve straight into the league news. If I had the right jingle, which would be helpful. This happens every episode. I don't know how. It's
one day.
The difficulty of line streaming. Right, here's the news jingle. So we will cover off injury news in the team preview bit as we did last season. That worked quite nicely. So we will just give you some general league news as well as some of the transactions. We can have a look at those. Let me just sign in here on the NFL website so we can actually see some detail on all those. If I could, this is what browser do you use for the NFL site? Because I hate Chrome. Yeah, well,
Chrome seems to work.
I've had to pivot to that now that Firefox has decided to off itself. So, bear with 1 second, dear listeners. Hopefully, I get my password right on the first go. Happy days, I think. So general league news. We're not going to mention it here. Just go ahead and Google Odell Beckham Jr. and see what's happening there, because we had a bit of a chuckle about that, and then maybe a humorous team name to come after. Here we go, team news. So I think last week we saw up to there's actually been quite a few. Yeah, there's been quite a few transactions since last week. I think it's probably since.
You discussed the you picked up the Colts D again.
Yes.
I rewatched the end of that episode earlier.
There you go. Well, for knowing that, if nothing else, it was useful. So we can stick to page one here. So Pat added Brian Edwards. He was one of the two guys I circled that if I had an extra space on my team, I would have added him. So good add by Pat.
Good pick up that.
Yeah, and to do that, he put I think it was Deebo Samuel on his IR spot. On his reserve slot.
Who's come off the IR.
Yep, we'll come to that move in a bit. You added Darrell Williams and dropped Cam Newton. We'll come back to that. Let's not analyse that because we talked about last week's show with questioning the second quarterback, especially when you've got that solid option up front. So I think good move by you to. You can get Cam back if you want him. I can't.
It was just wait and see what comes, mate. It's sort of a round 12 pick. I'm not too bothered if I pick.
Exactly. No, it's not the end.
It's all speculative at this point.
Exactly. Forge Flyers, they changed their kicker. Stuck with the same team, just a different player because Matt Gay got cut by the Bucks and Ryan Suckup is now their kicker. The Dream Team dropped Alshon Jeffrey. He too put someone on IR, I think. Who was it? It may have been, or did he? I think he took someone off. Sorry, I think he had to drop him to take someone off IR.
He added Peter Armstead.
Yes, he added Armstead. And put him on there, and then picked up somebody else, didn't he? Yeah, you dropped Darrell Williams then for Devonta Freeman, and we'll go one further. You then dropped Devonta Freeman for James Robinson, who I'd already picked up. It's the preseason roster roulette, but yeah, could be the starting running back for the Jags.
That was the hope with Devonta Freeman when he was visiting them.
Yeah.
Evidently not.
No. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of... because Chris Thompson has been touted as the best one, but that's obviously based on negative game scripts. If they actually have a chance to be in a equal game in game script, Robinson probably would get the best joy, I would guess. Then Pat dropped Justin Jackson to take Deebo Samuel off of the IR spot. Viv then added... he added Alshon Jeffrey, didn't drop him. That's where I was getting confused. But he then dropped Alshon Jeffrey for Tony Pollard and then dropped him for Damien Harris, which was the other player who I had penciled as a guy I would get on my team if I had an extra spot as well. And actually
break his hand.
Yeah, quite a smart move by Viv here. He's not breaking the reserve rules by having two... and in fact, he can even add another player, so he's actually not even maximising his capability at the moment. Because we obviously still have the one reserve spot for normal IR, which is occupied by Damien Harris. But Raquel Armstead is on the COVID list, which is an equally fine reason for the other 9 IR spots you have. I'd be interested to see how many people could actually... It's a competition we can have for this season. Who can get the most COVID-tagged players on IR at once? So those are the moves. As you said, it's all a bit speculative at the moment, so nothing major at the moment. In terms of general NFL news, I can't really think of anything that springs to mind, so we will just go straight into the Week 1 previews, and we'll finish off hopefully with a bit of 2020 predictions. This episode shouldn't hopefully be as long as last week, which we have to choose a marquee matchup though, Ollie, before we get into the... into the...
I know what my one is.
Yeah, okay, well, let's bring him back up here. So
it's a rematch of last year's Corona Bowl for me.
Yeah, so we've...
ignoring the teams and that, it's just first v second from last year. Screamed out to me as the only notable one.
Well, Forge Flyers against the Tuck Clouds. Obviously, the last time they met was week 15 of the playoffs when Brashard Perriman happened. So I agree. It's between that and Corona Bowl. What was it? 10. Yeah, it would have been 10, wouldn't it? With you and Tom. You fall either way on that side of the argument.
I'd go with Chris and.
Let's go that then. So Forge Flyers.
Give it the more recent.
Exactly. Yeah, and Phil's gonna be wanting to get revenge for that, and it's of course the current LOC champions. So. This week's marquee matchup then is Forge Flyers against the Tuckvards. Forge Flyers face the Tuckvards in week 1 of the 2020 LOC season. They met each other only a couple of game weeks ago in week 15, where Forge Flyers defeated the Tuckvards in a dramatic game in which Brashard Perriman erupted and snatched a victory for Forge Flyers. But it's a clean slate for both of the teams here. The history of this matchup: Forge Flyers are 10-6 all time against the Tuckvards, so they hold a slight edge. Looking down the teams, Phil has not yet named his team, but Chris starts with a strong starting lineup: Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, James Conner, DJ Moore, DJ Chark, and Terry McLaurin, who I believe that was draft order for him. On the other side, we would project Phil to have Mark Ingram, Zach Ertz, DeAndre Hopkins, Patrick Mahomes, and Juju Smith-Schuster, and probably the starting lineup. Ollie, what do you make of this Week 1 game?
You got the duel of the QB1 and QB2 there, or expected. And they've both got quite nice matchups. So this is going to be a point fest, to be fair, looking at it. You got
so we got Jackson against Cleveland.
Bell cow running backs, you've got top tier receivers, you've got a lot going on there. Decent enough matchups across the board, just on a quick glance.
Nothing too frightening there from from Chris's point of view.
And then obviously Phil's is a bit harder to tell.
It's a bit harder to tell, but he's got
he's got a few more riskier players in there. I'd say Chris is a more stable starting roster.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll be interesting to see. It's also interesting to see how the bench players do going forward, because you've got quite a lot of rookies out there. Like 3 of the top rookie receivers.
Yeah. This will be an interesting, evaluation week for Chris, because he's got Judy Ayuk and a young player in Deontay Johnson. Obviously, Hayden Hurst in a new team, and Julian Edelman with a new quarterback.
Yeah, so it's it should be interesting. I think there's a lot of unknowns going on this year.
It's hard to preview week 1. Yeah,
you've got normally DeAndre Hopkins in Phil's team. Yeah, brilliant, but he's in a new team. He hasn't been practicing all that. Or I think he's back to practice. But
he's questionable there. Yeah. But he'll play.
Adrian Peterson on a new team. Is he gonna?
Could he? Yeah, because Phil's 5th flex spot is a bit suspect with obviously everything coming out of Buffalo.
Yeah.
With
and then Emmanuel Sanders, new team. Mark Ingram. You've got people biting at his heels, trying to get touches off of him. Tyler Eifert. Not even worth talking about.
Why is he still on my team?
I know, but Zach Ertz could realistically see about 40 targets.
Yeah, with how banged up the Eagles are at receiver, and obviously he is kind of the de facto number 1 option for Wentz anyway.
Looking at Chris should feel quite comfortable going into this week. I think he's got a better team set up. The only issue is the Mahomes factor. He can literally do anything on any given Thursday. Be the case. That
could be a very high scoring opening game for the LOC season. Yeah, no, I think you're right. We obviously covered it on the draft recap show last week. I picked Chris as my favourite team, and myself and Chris both chose Phil as the team that would need to prove us wrong a bit to have a good season. And as you've already said, there's some suspicion with the players. They also haven't got the best matchups. You already mentioned Hopkins. He's playing San Francisco. It looks like a difficult opening game for the Tugfards, and we're both probably going Forge Flies here, aren't we? Yeah, there you go. And so Forge Flies to continue his good historical record against Phil. And Phil will not get his revenge for Brashad Perriman of last year. Okay, let's go on to our next game then. We will do next Bucking the Trend against Pakistan. Two of the newest members of the LOC, Bucking the Trend and Pakistan, both face off looking to prove that they have what it takes to have a better season. Both these teams coming off of slightly disappointing seasons than the other. Not much history in this game, but they have played each other before. Let's just there we go, it's a Bucking the Trend. 0-2 against Pakistan, so in 2 meetings last year they did not manage to beat at all. And the projections are currently going Pakistan's way, 95-85. Looking down the lineups, Pat has Breeze in, he's got Michael Thomas, Mixon, Cooper, Brown, all questionable but will play, and Courtney Sutton. On the other side of the ball, Matt Ryan's in for Bucking the Trend. They've got T.Y. Hilton, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, and N'Keal Harry, a late round draft pick for them, making the start of week 1. All have a clean bill of health. On the bench, David Montgomery, he will not play, certainly with that groin strain suffering. And Deebo Samuel, there is a chance he could be ready for week 1, but he's still coming back from that. Ollie, please preview this game for me.
Well, you got. It's hard to make much of this. I think Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, you guaranteed some points there. Beyond that, on both teams here, Matt Ryan as well. I'm struggling to see the consistency, which I couldn't tell you how each player will do here. There's so many up and down plays here that. I just don't really know what to make it. It's like looking down, Joe Mixon, finished the season strong last year and did nothing for 12 weeks of the year. Amari Cooper's is basically receiver by committee in Dallas.
Yeah, it's pretty. That was one of the knocks on him in the pre-draft process. Yeah.
Yeah, AJ Brown
is total wild card.
The most efficient receiver.
Insanely efficient. Yeah, incredible. Like, yeah, you're right. He's going to have to make up in volume for what he's in theory going to lose in efficiency.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. There's going to be weeks where Pat's team could easily put up about 200 points. Looking at the matchups there, I think that it's going to be a good week for him. So I think he should feel okay going into it.
Yeah.
Bucking the trend, I think you've got some okay. I'm not sure why N'Keal Harry's there at this point.
It's an odd choice. Yeah, if we pan to the bench, obviously, you know, he had
Marvin Jones.
Yeah, Marvin Jones is a good contender to get in there. Maybe even Austin Hooper possibly, but no, I think
Lindsay, Chris Thompson.
Yeah, there's a few other names there, but I think you're right. Marvin Jones probably would be a better option over.
I get it. You play in Miami, but N'Keal Harry didn't really do anything last year. I know that's sort of the Patriot way. Does that mean? I don't know what that means. You got Metcalf, who should eat against Atlanta.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. It's hard to know what to make of him because he'll get 20 points one week and then 2 points the next.
Yeah.
He should have a good week, but I think it's going to be quite an even one, to be fair. There's a lot of question marks in this matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think there are quite a few question marks, if not just for the semi-injured players on Pakistan. But no, you're right. There is a lot, like you say, with Cooper. It's undetermined what he's going to do. We didn't cover Cortland Sutton as well, but obviously he's got actual competition around him now in that receiver room, and how pass heavy is that team going to be as well? It's Tennessee's a good defense as well. I think there's not a lot you can really split these two on at the moment. I mean, if Breeze and Thomas have a good day, you've got to think that'll probably be enough for Pakistan.
Yeah.
I think
I like that double up from Pat. Though.
Yeah, it's a good duo. Yeah, if you're gonna have any.
Yeah, I think that's one of the better double ups you can sort of get a quarterback to receive because it's just a consistent. Thomas is going to get 10 to 15 targets a game, and either 80 yards or a touchdown. Like, pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. He's just one of those safe
doubling up on the points with Breeze as there.
Exactly. No, I think if I was to pick, I'd pick Pakistan just because, like we already said, N'Keal Harry is the total wild card. He could swing it, but colour me doubtful that he will.
I'm leaning towards Pakistan on that one as well.
But even if he got Marvin Jones in, I don't know. Pat was chosen by Chris as his favourite team post draft anyway, and there is a lot of stuff to like there. So I think Pakistan gets off to a good start here after another disappointing season. So it'll be an interesting game to monitor though. So let's go on to the next game of the week, where it is the Name Change Bowl. It is currently Demaryius Thomas and friends versus You Are Gold. Demaryius Thomas and friends and You Are Gold face off to not decide who has the best named team, but to see who could win in week 1 of the season. Ross coming off of a playoff appearance, his first since 2009. Meanwhile, You Are Gold coming off of another middling season, looking for a win in week 1. It's projected to be a fairly close affair at 92 to 88, slightly in favour of Demaryius Thomas and friends. Looking down the lineups, Ross's team looks unchanged from the order it was drafted. You've got Rodgers in at quarterback, Bell, Kamara, Evans, Diggs and Jones in the skill positions. On the other side, You Are Gold is Kyler Murray and Kenyon Drake, both on Arizona, Nick Chubb, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, and Jordan Howard. So he's chosen to send, I think, Evan Engram to the bench, or Marquise Brown, versus the order they were drafted. He's also got Chris Boswell and the Bears D. The history of this matchup, let's find, we've got Reeves' team here. He is 3-2 all time against Ross's team. Let me just turn the volume back up for you, Ollie, and what do you make of this one?
We got the battle of the double ups here. Murray and Drake and Rodgers and Jones.
Yeah.
I like that.
Don't see that too often.
No. I don't know which way I'm falling in terms of who I think's got the better matchup there. I think looking beyond that, Le'Veon Bell with Buffalo, not the best matchup, but he's going to get the ball.
Questions?
Case, to be fair.
Well, yeah, questions about even his wild card though, with everything we've been hearing out of camp.
Alvin Kamara's now got his. Did he sign his extension?
I don't think I've seen any reports saying he has. It's close, but still not agreed. I don't think
he's happy, so he should get the ball a lot with Tampa. All of his injuries that he supposedly had in the last couple of weeks seem to have gone away today. Mike Evans, it's wait to be seen what Tampa do on offense.
Yeah, I was a bit sour on Evans near the end of the pre-draft process, just because I thought with Gronk in town and many, he's a touchdown guy, right? Especially without Jameis Winston hurling it up to him in double coverage of one every game. So
that's the thing. It's like Brady's not going to be launching 40-yard bombs every game. That's not his play style. It'll be I'll throw to whoever's open.
Yeah.
Winston evidently decided not to throw to whoever was open, which benefited the Tampa Bay pass offense in terms of fantasy production.
Yes.
Again, Diggs in Buffalo, who knows what. If he's replacing the John Brown role, I know John Brown's still there.
Yeah.
He's going to put up decent enough numbers.
Yeah, and against a Jets defense that, like you said, it's a bit suspect. Yeah.
And then you've got the Arizona duo, who can be quite good. Nick Chubb. Supposedly there was reports he wasn't as good when Kareem Hunt came back, but it's all just a bit like, we'll just wait and see. They got a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, with Kevin Stefanski there, we saw in Minnesota how good that run team was. So.
Yeah. Adam Thielen, again, you know what you're sort of going to get from him, same with Cooper Kupp. Jordan Howard's the one who sort of stands out a bit.
It's an odd choice. I know New England's defense has lost a lot of pieces, but you still think going into New England.
Yeah, and it's a new back on a new team, and you're not entirely sure what they've got. A few weapons there now. Not
only in the receiving room, but with Matt Breida in the backfield as well. Yeah,
who's a competent back. Yeah, he can't carry 20 carries a game, but he's going to get at least 10 touches, you'd figure. I think it's quite even. I think I'm probably leaning towards you are gold here.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just a bit more consistency in that middle order. The receivers, I think, are going to give a better floor than maybe the Rosses.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised either way in this matchup.
No, I think you're right. And, I think the main sticking point for you are gold is it's that stack. I think Rodgers and Jones against Minnesota, they're familiar with each other. Both of those teams can do well against each other. But Murray and Drake against the Niners, they traded DeForest Buckner, but that Niners defense still projects to be pretty scary. It'll be
interestingly, Murray did really well against the 49ers last year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was just reading a stat earlier. Apparently, it was like per game basis, his best games were against the 49ers.
Interesting. You would not have thought that, would you?
No.
Maybe that's not such a bad. I mean, it's in Arizona as well, and we're not exactly sure what kind of offense the Niners are going to have as well. So, because they're having troubles of their own in the receiver room and everything. So, maybe that's not so bad. I tend to agree though. We mentioned it last week, me and Chris, on the mock draft recap, that auto draft was quite cruel to Ross. And
Rodgers was harsh.
Yeah, just based on the ADP, that's what it was. But like you say, a guy like Rodgers, who he just about squeaked into the top 12 QBs last year, and that was with a couple of spike games as well. Bell, we all know the question marks around him. Kamara's the obviously safe one here. But then, as we already said, with Evans, Diggs, and even Jones to an extent, where they drafted another running back, they've still got the guy's name, Jamal Williams, as well there. So Ross's team does have quite a few question marks. Whereas you are gold. Okay, yeah, like you say, you have a couple of guys like Chubb and Thielen, where Thielen's all about injury, really. Certainly with Diggs gone, he is that number one receiver in that offense. Chubb does have to share a backfield with Kareem Hunt, but they're gonna be running a lot, you would think. So I agree. It's just the safer team. And the defense is... well, Ross has got the Chiefs against Houston, which... I know the Chiefs' defense did quite well just because when you have an offense that leads, it's easier to, get picks and sacks and all that kind of thing. But they are very depleted defense at the moment. So I think you're right. Your goal will probably take this one in week 1 and defy the projections here. It's one thing to note as well. It is out of divisional week or an intra-divisional week. I think that's the right thing. So don't get too hung up on what happens in week 1 because divisions are what it's all about and that those matchups are coming. The next game then, let's take a look at Bare Necessities against the Dream Team. Bare Necessities face the Dream Team, 2 seasoned veterans of the OC face off to try and gain a victory in week 1 here. Bare Necessities still has not named the starting lineup, while the Dream Team has, so they obviously on paper look talking at the moment. Looking at the history of this game, the Dream Team are 7-9 all time against Bare Necessities, so it's fairly split. Looking down the lineup for Viv, Russell Wilson starts at quarterback, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, Chris Godwin, George Kittle, and Deshaun Jackson fill out the skill positions. Jackson was a late round pick, but he supplants AJ Green because he was drafted as the starter. On the other side, Matt Stafford could start, but it could be Josh Allen for Bare Necessities. But Travis Kelce will be in there, as well as Melvin Gordon and Dalvin Cook. After that, it's a bit of a question mark. It could be Devontae Parker maybe. It could be DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, or Cam Akers. It's a bit of a wild card at this stage, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Ollie, what do you make of this game? 1 second, I'll just turn up your volume.
I think Viv's got this in the bag, just looking at it straight away. Nothing to do with the fact Dave hasn't named the team yet. But am I wrong on this? He's got to start either Devontae Parker or Alan Lazard.
So let's run down it again. So Kelsey's obviously the first name in there. Cook's in there as well. Gordon, you've got to figure, is in that lineup. And then after that, he's got to name 2 more people. So it's between Parker, Lazard, Dobbins, Swift, Taylor, or Akers.
But one of them's got to be a receiver.
Yes.
It can't be all more running
Yes,
back.
good. Yeah, good point. So he's obviously starting
got to be Lazard or Parker. Parker, he's up against what's his name?
Stephon Gilmore. Yeah.
I know. Apparently, he did really well against him in week 17 or something.
I think he did okay. Yeah, I remember.
No one cares about week 17 when you've already qualified for playoffs and you can't get any more positions, so it doesn't matter. And Lazard is scary because they might not pass to him.
Well, there was
one with 2 guys, but
once upon a time that number 2 receiver in the Packers offense was fairly well coveted in fantasy circles, but that was quite a while ago now. Yeah.
And then it's a running back roulette for which rookie running back. Jonathan Taylor is going to see carries. Cam Akers is apparently in the worst committee you could get.
Yeah, 3-way.
Those DeAndre Swift.
And he's injured too. He might not even be ready for week 1.
Yeah. Dobbins is still behind Ingram.
4th on the depth chart, apparently.
Melvin Gordon could be splitting carries half and half with Lindsay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't like the roster.
It's one of these teams that you definitely want to play in week 1, right? As we're seeing, for those reasons.
You want to play. Don't get me wrong. Later in the year, you could have 3 or 4 of the top 20 running backs in the league.
Yeah.
And I think he probably will.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like it throughout the year. I don't like it.
But in week 1, it's about, because the rookies, especially in this shortened off-season, are not going to get the same, land with their feet running type approach.
Yeah, and then you look over to Viv's team, and I just see a bit more consistency up there. I feel you know what you're going to get. Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. He'll do what he always does. David Johnson.
Let Russ cook.
David Johnson, you don't trade DeAndre Hopkins for him and not use him.
No, yeah.
Even if he's literally getting no yards, they're going to keep giving him the ball.
We said on the pod last week that trade has to work.
I think it will for them. I think David Johnson fits into what Houston wants to do offensively quite well. He can catch out of the backfield. Although Watson doesn't normally pass, so maybe it's something they've been working on, but he can run between the tackles as well.
Yeah.
Elliott, you know what you're going to get with him. Although at Rams, okay, it's not the easiest matchup in the world, I don't think.
But you know, he's going to get enough volume that
I don't have any concerns with that.
Yeah.
Same sort of goes for Godwin, I guess. Tampa Bay are a bit of an unknown, but I think he's pretty safe there. I think he's a better receiver.
Supposedly, going to take over Mike Evans just because he's the more Edelman-esque player in that offense.
George Kittle, I don't need to say much more on him. Although it'll be interesting, Isaiah Simmons, how he plays against them. Because everyone's saying that's why they drafted him, to stop all the tight ends in that division. But
week
1 against a rookie, I think Kittle's going to do absolutely fine. And I like Deshaun Jackson against Washington. I really like that.
Yeah, no, it's a smart little pick, especially with the rest of the receivers in the Eagles' offense being banged up. And I think it was last year, week 1 against the Redskins as well, and he blew up on them.
Yards and
obviously the rest of his season got ruined, but he was still playing well up until that point. And you know, he has other options to call on as well. We actually have an AJ Green playing this season, and he's got Kareem Hunt, who has some appeal as well. But no, I agree. Jackson's a great stream for week 1. And I think we're both agreed. It's easy to go with the dream team in this game. Like we said, you've got those 3 guys at the top. They're just going to be pure volume. You can probably even chuck Chris Godwin into that as well. Yeah. Even Kittle is the top receiver on that team. Yeah. So, and then you've got the lottery ticket value of Deshaun Jackson. So, we already went through 2 of the guys that my dad's gonna have to start. Unless the other guys have a great week, it's going to make it very difficult to win this one. Yeah. So, the dream team to pick up the victory in week 1, while bare necessities, we think, will start with a loss. So then the next game we have, it is Gridiron Gang against Ixan. Gridiron Gang face Ixan in week 1 of the 2020 LFC season, a matchup that Ixan has historically dominated. As Gridiron Gang are, if my Google sheet please come alive, there we go. Ixan, sorry, down here. They are 13-4 all time against Gridiron Gang, and we all know Gridiron Gang's typical week 1 struggles, but they are projected for the victory in week 1, 98-91. Looking down the lineups, Gridiron Gang, they've got Wentz in a quarterback who is healthy from his groin injury in preseason. They've also got Taylor Lockett, Austin Eckler, Robert Woods, Kenny Golladay, and Saquon Barkley. Gould and Colts against the Jags for special teams. On the other side of the ball, Ixan starting Dak Prescott at quarterback, then Christian McCaffrey, Chris Carson, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, and Kerryon Johnson in the flex spot. Zane Gonzalez and the Patriots Steve feature for the special teams on that side. Mike Williams is expected to miss week 1 and beyond for the Chargers, while Jamison Crowder should be absolutely fine for week 1. Ollie, what are your takeaways from this game?
I think it's 2 consistent rosters. What I'm seeing there, right? You can put a point range up, and there's not too many like flashy plays in either one. Like, as in, I'm not saying they won't get high scores, but it's not like a Deshaun Jackson where you're going to get nothing or you're going to get 20 points.
Yeah.
I think quarterback battle quite even. I think Prescott over the year is going to have a very good year, but I think it could take a few weeks for him to get going. Just although it's not a completely new system to him, there's still a few changes around which could impact him. A bit of a reworked offensive line without our usual offensive line in Dallas, which could have an impact. Wentz, as much as I like him, I think he's been held back by the lack of weapons.
Absolutely.
Which is strange because they've got such good weapons. They're just not healthy.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be fine against Washington. He's going to have a good week. Lockett, Eckler, Woods, Golladay, that's just volume right there. Barkley, volume again. Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh's D is very good though. That's the only bit of concern.
It is a worry, yeah, for sure.
But if you're getting the ball 25 times and also catching it out the backfield, whilst you could have a very good run D, that doesn't necessarily mean you can stop running backs in the air. So you've got nice dual threat backs there with Eckler and Barkley, which is like Christian McCaffrey's obviously the X factor here. Is he going to be 2019 and 2018 form, or is he going to take a step back this year with a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback? I know he had a rubbish quarterback situation last year.
They needed him to play well.
I think everyone was very penciled in on him being the best player this year, without taking into effect all the things going on around him. I'm not sure it's going to be anywhere near as clear cut. I don't think they lean on him as much as they did. I think other teams hone in trying to. If we stop McCaffrey, we stop Carolina.
Sure.
Not to say he won't do well against the Las Vegas Raiders, who looked like a bit of a joke.
Defense does not project to be good. No.
Carson. Yeah, he does what he does. He's the least interesting starting running back in the league. He's consistently put up 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns or something. You just never really know when it... I've never owned him, but you just never seem to know where it comes from.
No,
He puts it up. The tight ends worry me a bit. And then Kerryon Johnson, I think, is a complete disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, especially now that Peterson is in the lineup. Let's take a look at who else Ben has to... Well, we mentioned... so it's probably Raheem Mostert would be the next man up, but you could probably argue White, Cook, Crowder all in contention.
It's a strong bench he's got, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's got other options, and I think you've got a strong bench as well.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier about your lineup decisions, and Will Fuller v Kansas is just
mouth-watering. Yeah.
But is it better than Tyler Lockett against Atlanta? No. You don't take Eckler and Barkley out because they're...
Yeah, you can't, can you?
You don't start receiver or that sort of receiver over volume running back. And then Robert Woods and Golladay, nothing's changed in their situation. So why would you take them out?
Yeah.
I think you've got the edge this week. I think, although last year, if you showed me Patriots at Miami or Patriots hosting Miami defense, I'd be like, Ben's going to win this on the back of that defense scoring about 50 points. I don't think that's the case this year. Miami have improved a lot. Ryan Fitzpatrick is just the most annoying quarterback because as much as he might throw 4 picks, he'll throw 600 yards.
Yeah, he still gets the offense going a bit.
Yeah, and then you could argue Colts at Jacksonville's better matchup this year.
Yeah, especially now that Fournette's gone, that team is clearly tanking for something.
Yeah, so to me, I think that you've got this matchup in the bag. I think you're going to break the week 1 curse, or break the curse with Ben.
Yeah, demon slaying all in one here in week 1. Look, without being too... Yeah, I completely agree, we talked on the show last week about Ben's approach to the tight ends, and he's not only starting. Mark Andrews is a good tight end, don't get me wrong. He can definitely put up points, as can Darren Waller, but we saw last year he wasn't a dominant touchdown guy. He relied a lot on the yardage being a focal point
of it. There's a lot of weapons in
Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards. They've still got Hunter Renfrow.
Jason Witten's there.
You have Jason Witten as well. It's it's all going to chip away. So starting 2 tight ends, while they're good tight ends, the upside is capped. That is what you have. Yeah,
they're good tight ends, but they're not Kittle and Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly. And then you mentioned about Kerryon Johnson even before Adrian Peterson signing. That I'd already flagged up as an interesting one. But with that in mind as well, it'll be interesting to see if Ben sticks with that one. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see that change.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gridiron Gang maybe will actually get off to a nice start for once. So our final game? No? Yes? Yep. Final game of the week. It is Tom's Tyrants against Bedestinators. Tom's Tyrants face Bedestinators. It is a rematch of Corona Bowl 10 in week 1 of the 2020 season, and it's projected to live up to what that game was as well early doors, with Tom's Tyrants projected to have a narrow 93-91 win Looking down the lineups, Tom Brady is the starting quarterback for Thomas Tyrants, while Devontae Adams, Miles Sanders, Keenan Allen, Alan Robinson, Todd Gurley all start as well, and that was how they were drafted. Sanders is still a bit banged up, maybe on a pitch count. On the other side, the Belenos, they've got Deshaun Watson and their quarterback, Julio Jones, Fred Edwards-Helaire, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, and Odell Beckham Jr. in the starting lineup. I think that was mostly how you drafted as well, with the exception of Kicker and Eagles on Tom's Tyrant special teams. Meanwhile, they have Buffalo Bills. Ollie, what do you make of your game with Tom?
I think this is going to be a close one. Unfortunately, I've got a feeling the matchups which Tom has are a little bit better than what I've got. Is unfortunately how I think it's fallen this week. But that's not to say I think he's going to out and out win. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's a bit of an unknown. New Orleans defense is a bit of an unknown.
Yeah.
He could literally do nothing, or he could get 40 points. I don't know. Watson, you sort of know what you're going to get, but it's again, you don't have Hopkins there. But without Hopkins, could he rush it more so he sort of makes up maybe an extra 5 or 6 points a game rushing?
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, to me, he obviously wanted him over Julio Jones. I think Devontae Adams is going to be the wide receiver 1 this year without doubt.
Yeah.
But at Minnesota, I was reading earlier, I think he's just going to absolutely destroy them. They've lost Rhodes. They've got some other cornerback starting.
Yeah, they are a bit shoddy at cornerback, you're right.
The only thing saving grace is I think Matt LaFleur is going to try and just run it down Minnesota's throat the whole game.
Which is probably the strength of their defense as well, so that would...
Yeah, but LaFleur doesn't care about
that. Yeah, no,
I
know, yeah, very, very run-heavy coach. Definitely.
Yeah. Miles Sanders, I heard today he's going to be limited.
Yeah.
Supposedly. But if not, that's a very good matchup. Keenan Allen, again, it's a bit of an unknown. Tyrod Taylor. I like Tyrod Taylor as a quarterback, but as a fantasy provider, he's never been the best.
Yeah.
So it's going from Rivers to him. Allen Robinson, I think, is going to have a good game. Todd Gurley, let's see how his knee is, and how he fits into the new offense.
Yeah, early season should be fine, you would think.
Yeah, and then going over to my team, you got Julio and Calvin Ridley against Seattle. A lot of my weeks, you'll probably say on the podcast, will come down to what's Atlanta's matchup like.
Yeah. Good this week is the answer.
Those two, if I get production from those two, like Evans and Godwin last year, that's a scary tandem there.
Yeah.
Like on any given week, they could both just go for... Like they're on pace for Julio, I think, was it about 150 targets he got last year, 130? Godwin was on pace for that, obviously he missed a couple of games, and you're like, you've got two receivers in the same team. Atlanta don't have a defense, so they're going to have to be passing, especially against Seattle. Edwards-Helaire is obviously an unknown.
Yeah, complete wild card. Yeah.
I'd love him to be like Kareem Hunt a few years ago, who I drafted.
Yeah, that was crazy against the Patriots, yeah.
And there's no reason he can't be like that, because he's got all the weapons around him, that he's not the focal point of the offense, which could work in his favour. But it's a bit of an unknown. I sort of knew that on draft day, but I was willing to take the risk. Tyler Boyd is probably about as consistent as you get. And Odell Beckham, again, unknown. Like last year, I know everyone's saying like the Browns were bad, the Browns were awful, but it's a new system. I sort of see it as he's the Stephon Diggs.
I think that's
Landry's the Thielen.
Yeah.
So there'll be boom and bust weeks with him.
Yeah.
But he could easily just go get a 60-yard touchdown, and if he gets that, my return from him being my wide receiver 2 or 3 is perfect, 12 points. I'd take that. I think both our special teams have good matchups.
I was going to say, fairly even on that front.
Who's worse, New York or Washington on offense? So they're quite even.
Yeah, I think you both have probably the 2 best streaming matchups for DSTs, and you have the 2 highest ranked kickers for the 2020 season. So, yeah, a very interesting special teams affair.
And then I think if you go down to bench options, if anyone does want to make it, we've both got 2 of the most speculative benches of the time. Across the board, you've got Brandon Cooks, unfortunately, is injured.
That quad downgraded today. Yep.
Yeah, Ronald Jones, we've already. I'm sure you touched on it last week. So no one knows what that situation is going to be in that backfield. Yeah. And then you've got Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb. I was actually going to select Ruggs with that pick, and he chose him just before it. But then I was sort of just, I don't mind because I've got Cowboys player. So
yeah, no, and hearing what the Cowboys think about CeeDee Lamb is that they think he's as good as DeAndre Hopkins already. So
I think CeeDee Lamb, not just saying it because he was on my fantasy team, I think he's going to lead the Cowboys in either yards or touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think both, but I think in one of those metrics.
Well, he's profiled to play out the slot. Obviously, he's going to see the third best cornerback, or So, he's and there's obviously a lot of tight end targets vacated by Witten that won't necessarily all go to Jarwin. So he could have a good season for sure.
I think he's got Gibson there. It's a bit of a weird one, but he'll come good later in the year.
Profiles to be on a team that should be losing in theory most games as well. He's that he is the new Chris Thompson in Washington.
I think looking at our two lineups, if we were to play each other 4 weeks down the line, I think our starting lineups would be very different because all the rookies have time to develop. Obviously, Jalen Reagor's the injury for me. That was a bit of a blow because I was ready to put him straight in as. Sure. Admittedly, I don't really know where he'd fit into my team above the other receivers. But I was hoping him v Washington. I was hoping for like the Sean Jackson style play, but I have to wait a couple more weeks. Supposedly week 2, he might be there.
Could be back earlier than expected.
Wait and see, but I think I don't know. I'm having a hard time calling this. I think I'm leaning towards my team to win. I just think my receivers are just going to get volume in week 1, but then I'm worried about Devontae Adams and Brady's impact. I think they could just go huge. Yeah,
certainly. I forgot in the lead up to do the history of your matchup with Tom, and it's fairly close, 7-10 all time in favour of Tom. But yeah, you're right. I think the key thing for me is let's take your team first. You said it already quite well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, how much work is he going to get? Because there's talk that Darrell Williams will at least kind of be in some sort of shared role, if maybe not even taking the lead role over him, possibly in week 1. But I completely agree. You just can't leave him off the team because if he does come out and just monopolise the touches, then it's the sky's the limit.
I think we're going to know who's going to win this matchup on Friday morning.
Yeah, you could be. You could be right.
My team, I could have 3 players. Like kicker, let's say he gets 10 points or whatever.
Yeah.
I could have Watson and Edwards-Helaire put up 60 points, 50 points between them. Yeah. And you're like, okay, yeah. Or they could literally have a stinker.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's it's going to be a lot clearer.
Yeah. The other 2 things you mentioned as well with Boyd, I agree, he's safe as you get, and I think season long he'll be fine. But it's Joe Burrow's first game.
Yeah.
We don't know what that's going to mean, and the Chargers D is also fairly good, but and AJ Green is back as well. Let's not forget. But I still think Boyd is a quality option despite that. But will it happen in week 1? Not sure. And you already said it about Beckham as well. I think the thing in his favour is you almost got to imagine Cleveland's going to be playing chase up in that game, and I think Landry is actually a bit banged up still from that off-season hip. Surgery, so they may be leaning on him a bit more heavily, so I could see him having a good game. But yeah, like you say, on the other side, you look at Tom's team and guys like, I think Allen Robinson, Gurley, they don't maybe excite you too much, but they're going to get results. I think you're right with Allen, he's not going to be the same Allen we've been expecting, but at least with Mike Williams being out, he figures to be a guy they lean on. You already mentioned Devontae Adams and Tom Brady. I personally think Tom Brady is watching a lot of Patriots games keenly last year. There was nothing wrong with Brady. It was just the lack of weapons. So he's probably had the best weapons he's had since 2007. With what he has now. So I think the only wild card is Miles Sanders, as you said, on a pitch count. But you're right. It's the case of will your team boom? Or will it not quite be there? I completely agree. Your team is going to be fine season long. It just might be week 1. There's a bit more dodgy.
I think that's the argument with sort of everyone's team at the moment. It's very hard to evaluate.
Absolutely.
You could be like, Joe Burrow's looked amazing in preseason.
Yeah. We haven't even had a preseason.
Brilliant. Or Edwards-Helaire was rested for the last pre-season game, and okay, fine.
It's a clear tell. Yeah.
No one knows. So I think based on security of jobs, I think Tom's leading the way.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit less uncertainty in his team, which is why, unfortunately, I do think Tom will probably win.
Yeah. I can't even believe
this
that.
is.
Yeah, sorry. Finish
This is one of the closer matchups of the week on paper.
Yeah.
I think there's been a few others where we've both been quite unanimous on. Yeah, okay, like this team's going to win comfortably. This team's going to do this, but I think this one is. Normally, I'd back my team, but I just think I've drafted a few question marks in the draft.
Sure.
For that season-long outlook.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I can live with one loss.
Yeah. I can't even believe that Brady is only projected at 21.5 points. He'll beat that. He's going to come out slinging it. But, like you said as well, Thursday night is the key for you. Deshaun Watson could equally have a huge game as well. But, my personal gut feel is Tom as well. So, Tom to win there. So, fortunately, while doing the pod, I have seen that Tom has posted the power rankings. So, we can do a quick look at that and then maybe finish off with some real quick. We'll do a debate corner and do some quick predictions for the 2020 season. If Facebook would kindly load for me, that would be helpful. Go away, message from Tom. Where is it? There it is. Power rankings at the same time as the podcast. Yes. Aren't you lucky, everyone? 12 we've not even read these, so this is live reaction. At 12, we've got Bare Necessities. 11 is the Tuck Farts. 10, Bucking the Trend. 9, You Are Gold. 8, Tom's Tyrants. 7, Ixan. 6, Bedenators. 5, see, it's already out of date because he's not got Demarius Thomas and friends in there. Cat placeholder, the Ross's team. 4 is Pakistan. 3, Gridiron Gang. 2, the Dream Team. And 1, Foot Flyers. We won't delve into the reading bit like in the pod, but what is your quick takeaway from those power rankings?
I don't necessarily agree with them.
Quick takeaway indeed. Look, it's hard at this point because
admittedly it's hard writing it. I think Tom's been a bit harsh on himself there. He's probably a bit higher up.
Yeah.
Scrolling down, I'm not a big fan of Ross's team being.
No, I think that is I agree. That's probably the biggest surprise.
As someone who owned Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones last year, it does not make you enjoy Sunday night.
No, yeah.
I think Pat's team as well, maybe a little high for my liking. I think the top 3, I'd say Viv's team to me should be top, personally.
Yeah.
I think then potentially followed by your team and then Chris's team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's week 1 and it's fun and this is the joy of power rankings. Tom can do what he wants with them.
Exactly.
And normally you get some pretty. Takes a few weeks obviously because no one knows. By the end of the season, he's got it pretty nailed on. But it makes a good read each week.
Yeah, for sure. And I know from talking to Tom that they're very hard at this stage. Not only because we haven't seen any games to kind of figure out what's going on, but with the Superflex format, you've got to take into account the bench more than ever. Which again at this early stage of the season hard to do. So there are the power rankings. You can go and read those now. So we will dip into debate corner really quickly before we sign off on the pod. So John Burkow, would you please do the honours?
Order.
Thank you, John Burkow. So today's debate corner is let's have some big predictions for the 2020 LOC season. Have you got any off the top of your head? I'm happy to try and start if you don't.
Yeah, if you kickstart on
Yeah, sure. So we have the wildcard division and the Winchester division, which you would not be surprised to see any of those make the playoffs and any of those not make the playoffs. And with that in mind, I'm going to predict, despite the other divisions also being strong on paper, but 2 playoff teams come from the Winchester division this season.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's if they're looking through the power rankings, that would make sense. You and Viv in the top 3 there. So Yeah, look, well, because obviously pre-draft you don't really know what the divisions. You can't tell.
No, yeah, very tough. Yeah, we can only do
now.
It
It makes
yeah.
a bit more sense.
Yeah,
It's a bit
yeah.
like, I think the Portsmouth division quite weak. Draft stage in terms of coach pedigree, it's one of the strongest.
Yes.
And likewise, Southampton division, I don't think it's as competitive as the Winchester one. I think there's a bit up and down for the teams in there.
Sure.
But
Okay.
I've got a stat prediction.
Okay.
Bit bold. I'm going to say both Christian McCaffrey will not finish as RB1.
Okay.
He won't actually finish in the top 3 running backs.
Oh, hot take.
And the quarterback one will not be Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
Also a hot take. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would obviously spell not so good things for Ben, who obviously used the Nathwani rule to get McCaffrey, and for Chris and for Phil as well. And Phil obviously very reliant on Patrick Mahomes for his season, as we've seen with his team. No, I like it. My next prediction is, I think so. We saw the Tuck Fuds, they massively sprung out at the start of last season, but then completely faltered down the stretch. I am going to predict that we are going to see the first 12-win team. I'm not even sure when the last 12-win team happened. We might need to do a quick look on the pod here. But there are some early doors, some very stacked rosters, I think. And we saw last year with Phil's team, I think with the shallower format, while it makes it more competitive, it also makes it probably a bit easier to do have a stronger team. And taking quarterback into consideration as well. If you have a good quarterback in a shallower league, it's a bit more of an X factor than it used to be.
Yeah.
We've got the accolades here, so excuse me, I'm just loading up. So I know Tom's team went 13-1 in what would it have been 2013 must have been
2012.
2012. Yes, no, sorry, because you won
Yeah.
you won it, and then yes. So just looking down here.
It was either year before or year after.
Yeah, I don't think there has been. There was an 11-3 year by Forge Flies in 2017. Let's keep going down. Yeah, another 11-3 in 2013. Nothing there.
13-1 in 2012.
Yeah, that was Tom's season, so yeah, none there. And then I think the only team in here could be ADLZ that could match that, but they did not. So yes, I'm going to go with the first 12-plus win team since 2012.
You're going to take a bonus stab at who it might be?
Bonus stab at who it might be. Oof. Yeah, it's tough. I think I'd have to say Chris, because the suspect, like you said, the suspect teams are in his division. If he can clean up, that's 6 wins in his division straight away, and then he only has to get another 6 somewhere else across the league. So I could see it being Chris's team. Yeah. But I'd also, I've never come out of an LSU draft liking my team as much as I have, and that's probably a spell for absolute disaster. I've never actually even had a 10-win season, so as a conciliatory, maybe, possibly, is this the year, I'm going to pick my team as the second most likely for that.
I think this year there's going to be previously it's sort of like there's 1 or 2 people who do really well, and then the third place is just because they win their division, but they sort of win it with the same record as everyone else in their division.
Yeah.
And the wild cards are completely mismatched for whoever scored the most points. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think there's going to be 4 teams who excel themselves.
Okay. Like it. That's a good prediction.
It's a clear, like, we'll know from the, week 14, the end of from week 12.
Yeah.
We're going to know the playoff teams.
Okay, yeah.
I don't even know if that's mathematically possible.
No, it probably is, yeah.
I
would think it would be.
Even if it's based on points scored, we'll know the playoff teams. Because they could be like 300 points ahead of something.
Yeah.
I think by week 12, we're going to know all 4 playoff teams.
Okay. And then that would lead to another prediction that if that is the case, then some teams will be contending at least for the worst record in a season, perhaps. which the worst is 2-12. So
I think we might have a 1-win team out there.
You think we might see a 1-1 team?
No, when was it? I don't necessarily win 1-win. What was the longest you went the other year without a win?
I think it was 8 or 9 games before
However
I got
long it
one.
was, I think that's going to be broken by your dad this year.
Okay, so another bold prediction and the longest winless stretch.
It'd be
to
really
start
helpful
the
if you
season.
just didn't change his lineup for week 1 as well, because then I know it's definitely.
Yeah. So I went 9 weeks without getting a win in 2018 somehow.
Yeah.
So yes, you're predicting my dad to go to go 10 weeks.
Yeah, that's my boldest prediction.
Like it, I'm not going to try and even top that because I can't quite frankly believe that 9 was a thing anyway.
I can't believe that happened.
I think the craziest thing about that season was I still ended up going 3-11.
Yeah, but you lost to like some really stupid games. I think you played me one of the weeks.
Well, yeah, we can bring it back.
It was it that season? I think we played each other on a Wembley goal. It might have been the year after.
Probably not that because I played week 2. But no, you're right. There are quite a few. I opened the season without 4 straight games of over 90 points. The first 3 were 100. And then even during that span, there were definitely some bad weeks, but I had another 97 as well and didn't have any luck. All of my opponents scored over 100 points every game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, that is the week 1 preview show. We gave you some bold predictions there and even got in a little bit of the power rankings as well. Thanks for stepping in while Chris was out, Ollie.
It's alright, I hope Chris is enjoying his trip to Wales.
Yeah, he was up Snowdon, I think, the other day, so he's having a grand old time on the golf course today. Chris will be back with us next week to look at week 1, which starts now. Like I said, if you want to watch it but don't have the means, I'm happy to stream it for you over our Hangouts. Best of luck to you, Ollie, tomorrow. It's going to decide your matchup, almost certainly. And best of luck to the rest of you. But let's not forget, haven't been able to say this for a while, unless you're playing me, of course. So that's it for the LSC report today. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.